It's time for the Sin Bin. 5 minutes for fighting.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Sin Bin, where me and Cam are going to give our opinions on something we have a disagreement about. This is our 7th installment of the Sin Bin, coming to you live. Well, not live, actually, pre-recorded. Is me, your gracious host, co-host, Alex Fournette, and with me is my other co-host, Cam. How we doing today, guy?
I'm fucking exhausted.
You look like a zombie right now.
Yeah,
You
dude,
look
I
like a
skated for 2
zombie
hours
right now.
yesterday. Dude, I skated for 2 hours straight yesterday. I took a puck off my elbow. I'm tired. I'm getting up there in age too, so it's not like I shouldn't say that I'm 30.
I know the feeling, my guy. I went to the gym for probably only the third time in recent memory. Well, also this week. And I did my biceps and back, and I can't straighten my arms today. That's how long it's been. So
No, that's
gotta
good
love
though.
it.
That means it's working. Dude, I don't even know why, but my neck is sore, my back is sore, my ass is sore. Everything is just sore.
It's sore
Like,
as
I don't know.
sore.
Maybe it's because I haven't skated that hard in a long time, but as much of a fun time as it was, I'm still exhausted. I didn't get to bed till late last night.
Give
But
yourself
anyway,
two
what do we got on
days. It is new.
Yeah. What do we got on the table?
All right.
What are we discussing?
So today, we're going to go a little deep into a potential coaching hiring candidate, Craig Berube, former St. Louis Blues head coach, won a Stanley Cup championship in 2019, also coached my Flyers for a short time in the mid-2010s. So we're going to go into this. Me and Cam are going to have a little debate this week on where we think the best landing spot for Berube would be. I don't expect this one to get quite as heated as our Natchez debate because we kind of are like so-so on this, but it should make an interesting topic for us to debate. Cam, why don't you go first? You think he would be best suited in Toronto. Why is that?
Yeah, just to kind of give the audience more of a background too. So Alex and I have had many chats about this in our Facebook group chat with the rest of the, pucking around media. Folks, and him and I have kind of already laid out a bunch of points, but Alex is on the side of New Jersey. So there's 2 potential landing spots right now that are going to land Berube, and they were both reported by Spit and Chicklets and a couple other reputable NHL analysts that it is between New Jersey and Toronto. I'm on the side of Toronto. I just think primarily because that team is close. I think they've been missing key defensive structure for a long time. And similar to, I want to say, Tortorella, Julian, Daryl Sutter, and a lot of those other defensive-minded coaches, I think Berube will just be a better overall fit because they have more to gain from that kind of level of experience. He does have a Stanley Cup, so he does know what it takes to get there. Because everyone else knows that the Toronto Maple Leafs have zero idea how to get there. They made advancement into the second round last year for the first time in almost 20 years. And then they made an exit this year. So that's regression with what I would actually be not that bad of a roster. It wasn't as deep in terms of center as last year, but still, that was still a pretty deep team. And I think they should have beat the Bruins, at least on paper. So I just genuinely think there's a lot to gain from Berube that Toronto could take advantage of, especially that defensive mindedness, which you're going to need with Joseph Woll, and especially with some of the questions they might have at D going into next year.
So I think those are all good points. My side on this, as you just mentioned, goes with the New Jersey Devils. And New Jersey is a team that heavily underachieved this season, a team that I actually, at the beginning of the year, predicted to at least represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Finals. I didn't have them winning. I had them losing to the Stars as my early season prediction, and they fell off.
Another typical Alex L.
Listen, Mr. Anaheim Ducks are going to make the playoffs. I don't want to hear from you.
Listen, tell me. I honestly thought they could have made a giant leap, but then, damn, was I
the only thing
wrong,
they
so
leaped off of was that same canyon New Jersey did into a bottomless pit. They have a great prospect pool, but they suck.
The only thing that they should leap off of is the San Andreas fault.
But Anyway, the
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
the
continue.
Devils, I think, are a very good fit for Berube, and that's not to knock Toronto because I think that would honestly be my second best option. But I think New Jersey has a couple extra things going ahead of them. Number one is I think their decor is much better and more, maybe not necessarily more established, but has a much higher ceiling potential. When I look at Toronto, you have guys like Morgan Riley, McCann, but then after that is a lot of guys that are like over there. That there's going to be a lot of question marks. New Jersey, you're going to get Dougie Hamilton back. You have young stubs like Simon Nemec and Luke Hughes there. It's a defensive system that I think wasn't all that bad last year, but it's more that how bad their goaltending was. I mean, Brendan Smith is still actually no, he's a UFA. So let me phrase that with him. But then you have Jonas Siegenthaler. He's still there. That's a pretty good decor on paper. And I think what a guy like Berube could bring, especially that he brought in St. Louis, was true defensive structure. And you get a guy like Hamilton back. That's a really good top four. And another thing that I look at when it comes to New Jersey is they're in a better position cap-wise than Toronto. Toronto's got a lot of decisions to make this offseason when it comes to a lot of their personnel, Mitch Marner being on the top of that. And obviously that's not Berube's problem, but he has a lot more questions in the defensive style that he loves to push with the way he always coaches. And Toronto, I don't know, is going to definitely have that personnel. They should be better than they were this year, but it's still a big, giant question mark what moves they're going to make. They have a lot of question marks, as I just stated multiple times, on their defense. Where New Jersey is more established, and it's a much younger team, too. New Jersey's top six is, I won't say at the moment as talented as Toronto's, but it has the gap isn't that big, and the future there is excellent. Nico Hischier is a perfect center for a guy like Craig Berube. He plays a fantastic two-way game. Jack Hughes is a scoring machine whenever he's on the ice. Dawson Mercer, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated top six guys in the league. Jesper Bratt is a really good guy. He puts up about a point per game. And I think, and New Jersey still has same as Casey coming too. I think he's a defenseman, but still that decor is loaded, and they have a lot of guys who are more defensive structured. And New Jersey has pretty much already made it clear they're going to go for goaltending this offseason. Cam,
Yeah. So you mentioned that their cap situation is better. There's a $1 million difference between the two of them. New Jersey has 19.
I didn't say it was
5.
much better. I just said it was slightly better.
Okay.
When I look at Toronto, I just think there's a lot more questions to be had.
I think Toronto has a lot more players to sign, I think, but they can get them on the cheap. I mean, it's just it's Connor Dewar, Nicholas
Max
Robertson, Noah Gregor, Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi. I don't think Max Domi is going to garner a huge contract. I think he'll actually take something of a discount. And but on the defensive side, they're not re-signing TJ Brody. He's been a defensive liability for them, so he's a wash. Timothy Liljegren, who I don't know why Toronto is bashing him. Timothy Liljegren's actually a pretty good defenseman. He's probably a second pair guy, but that's fine.
I think he's more of a third pair. He was better than I thought he was going to be there. I thought he was going to. I laughed at that trade when it first happened. He wasn't an Albatross like I expected. I think he's a pretty good third pairing guy, but he's not. I don't think he's anything you want to hype up or build.
Yeah, they're gonna let Mark Giordano go. They're gonna
Awesome.
they're gonna let. Actually, I don't know. They might
Can
actually.
I put a pause on this real quick? Can we finally admit that Mark Giordano's a fossil?
Yeah, he's old. Yeah, he's dead.
Okay. Thank you. It finally took us about almost a year, but you finally make Mark Giordano's a fossil. I want to just get that off. Continue.
He hasn't played, but I think his hockey IQ is still there. But yeah, he can't move like he used to. It's his legs more than anything else.
Exactly.
They could easily get Joel Edmondson for $3 million. That would be good for them. Ilya Lyubushkin, $2 million. They're not. Those are actually good. Those are good bottom pair.
New Jersey's defense is and the high ceiling. A lot of those players have.
I agree with you on the higher ceiling, but Berube has been known to go for more physically minded defensemen or teams with a physically minded defense. So if you look at Ilya Lyubushkin, Joel Edmondson, Jake McCabe, those are like his. Those are kind of like his kind of guys. You know what I mean? And I think if Toronto gets another defenseman in the offseason, which they're going to hunt for. They're going to look for it. I wouldn't be surprised if they look at Brady Shea. I wouldn't be surprised if they look at, Sean Walker, just more bigger guys that can play of a shutdown game while their offense continues to apply the pressure.
Now, New Jersey doesn't have none of those guys, though. Jonas Siegenthaler, he's a pretty physical defenseman. I think Simon Nemec is eventually going to evolve into an all-around defenseman who has a decent offense and defensive style. Again, even Kevin Ball isn't that bad in the physicality department. Now, I'm not going to say that about guys like Dougie Hamilton and paper soft Luke Hughes, but I think New Jersey does have the personnel.
Luke Hughes pisses me off.
Yeah, I can agree. But I will say,
soft ass.
I will say New Jersey does have guys that fit that mold, and a defensive forward like Nico Hischier, I think he's going to have a field day with. I think that would be the perfect guy for Hischier. I'll put it this way. If Berube were to sign with New Jersey, I would personally guarantee Nico Hischier ends up winning a Selke at some point. Personal guarantee.
I mean, he's been in the running for a while. He isn't this year, but I was surprised he wasn't. Bergeron had another career Selke winning year last year, so it was hard to take that away from him. By the way, rebrand the Selke to the Bergeron.
But he would win one for sure. I wouldn't even nominate him as a finalist. I would guarantee Nico Hischier would win at the minimum one Selke with him there. I think he would be a perfect fit. And then there's one other major thing I want to mention that I don't think gets talked about enough when it comes to comparing Toronto versus New Jersey. Toronto, the media there is going to eat him the fuck alive if things go wrong. Just care. Like the part Sheldon Keefe, just like the
he doesn't care.
Shanahan. He might not show that he doesn't care.
Berube's going to give a shit. He has a resume.
Man, listen, Berube was a tough guy when it came to when he was actually on the ice. He was always like that, but he was very lower end and soft spoken. At least his time in Philly. St. Louis, he changed a little bit and he called his guys out from time to time. But it's a difference between the St. Louis media and the Toronto media. And I feel like it would be a better chance of success not having to worry about that being over your shoulder at all times, being in New Jersey where you can just strictly worry about your hockey team than the extra bullshit off the ice that the media could potentially present.
I don't think coaches should really care about that. They're there to get a job done. And I think the pedigree that could come with potentially getting Toronto their first cup since 1967. I mean, look at the Blues. I think that's what attracted him to the Blues as well. Like, they won their first cup in 52 years with him as the head coach. And I think for someone like Toronto, that might sound appealing to him because they're, like I said, I don't think Toronto's that far off. They're really not.
I got to see them make major.
They got goalied in the first round. There's no question about it. Jeremy Swayman absolutely just.
They got goalied and they got special teams. We got to throw that up there too.
Yep. There's no question about it. So, in all honesty, I think they're there. They're right along with it. I don't think they're that far. And I think they're actually closer than New Jersey is just because of the higher end talent that they possess.
They do have higher end talent on the offensive end. I will definitely agree with that. But I think that with the style that Berube has always implemented, with the physicality, as you mentioned, and always being defensive structured first, with the personnel that New Jersey has on the defensive side, also who can transition into an offensive style of play, who can pretty much have long seam passes down the ice that can transition into strong offense. New Jersey's defense already structured as is, unless if Toronto brings in a guy that makes me go, whoa, that's another number one defenseman there. That's a team that could really push forward. I just feel like New Jersey's structure fits him better.
I'm going off of what their team needs, right, too. So if you think about it, I think Toronto needs that kind of coach. The other option for Toronto is Todd McClellan, which I'm all set on for them. I as much as I love seeing the Toronto Maple Leafs lose because it makes me as a Bruins fan laugh that we've owned you for a decade now.
More than that.
I think it's getting depressing to watch you. Just
no, it's not. It's funny. No, it's not.
Fine. It's funny, but it's depressing. I'm just like, God, this team is there and they can't.
I don't care if it's 2067. I'm still gonna laugh at it. I want them to have a longer friggin' drought than the Chicago Cubs had.
Wow. Okay. That's a little aggressive. I don't know. In terms of parity of the league, I need them to do something. Just something. I don't know. At least make it to the third round somewhere. They hadn't won 2 or 3 series
They have
ever?
never won 3 series in their existence.
Okay, well then they should at least get to the final. If they lose in the final, then I'm happy with it. Then that's their Stanley Cup. Give them like a gold-plated
Give
golfing
them a
bag or
silver
something.
medal
I don't
that's
know.
partially dented.
Yeah, I don't care, but something.
But
I don't know. But from the rumblings from Toronto, and I guess based on the press conference, they're completely. It appears as though that they're completely done with Mitchell Marner. So
that sounds like a not if, but when. But the thing is,
yeah,
as me and you have discussed, he still has a no movement clause. Is he
yep.
going to agree to move that? He could very well say, "I'm not moving this shit. I'll play here for another year and then just go test free agency." The
And
hell
he'll
with
get
you
a.
guys.
And I kind of hope he does the latter.
That
You
would
know,
be absolutely hilarious.
yeah, I think he should do
Because
that.
he
But
only has 1 year. So
no,
I
I
mean, I
agree.
don't
I
know if
I
he's going to
agree.
move it or not.
I agree. Either you might have to retain salary if you're going to move him
And
to
that's
for
the
one
thing.
year.
Do you want to do that at the end of the day? I mean,
It
yeah,
saves
it's
you.
only a year. You'd rather get something for him. But even if
Think about
retained
it.
salary, if he doesn't waive, he's just going to say, "The hell with you
Think
guys.
about
I'm
it
just
though.
doing this another year."
Think about it though. That's $5 million or $5.75 million if they retain 50%. That's still freed up in cap. Something I don't know. I can't remember what it is. I think it's 5.25 million. But that's enough to go get you a
No,
defenseman.
I agree that I don't think that they're going to get maximum value for him. They're probably just going to want to move him to go after a defenseman. I agree with that. But like as you and I say, he doesn't have to move it. He
And
doesn't.
you also have to look at what's available on the market too. Even if they take a first round pick and let's just say
That even if
you're,
they offered that, it's just he
he's
could
gonna
just
get
be spiteful.
yeah, he's gonna get you a first round pick.
Well,
Marner
for
will get
sure.
you easy and maybe a prospect. But um now you have draft capital. You have $10 million in free space. You can go sign a guy like Tyler Toffoli. You can go sign an Elias Lindholm. You can go sign a Sean Monahan. You can go get that two-way forward. And on top of that, because they're only going to want five. Well, Elias Lindholm's probably going to get $7 million.
I
Between,
I completely forgot another good defenseman on New Jersey. John Marino's still there too.
yeah, John Marino's good.
They have such a good decor on paper. They just need defensive structure, which is why I always laughed at Lindy Ruff. Now it wasn't all the defense; it was all Lindy Ruff. It was a lot mainly on their goaltending. They're going to get that goalie this offseason. I don't know
Now,
who they're going to move yet, but they're going to get him, and they
with
have
the
a lot more ability to move guys because they don't have 6 trillion no movement clauses like the rest of them did.
now
Like
with
that Toronto does.
Now, with the questions at goaltender for New Jersey and with the defensive questions for Toronto, do you think Berube holds out to see how the team shape up before he even accepts
I
it? Because
could
that's
see
what I
that.
think he's going to do.
I agree. I could definitely see that. I think he could wait. This could go until July. I don't think it'll go past that because he's going to want to, meet these guys, get familiar with the team and the system and what specifically he
Well, it's
wants.
going to be his system.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the system was the wrong word to use. He's going to want to get. I kind of look at it as something that happened here when it came to Tortorella. When we first hired him, he didn't really talk a bit of hockey when the guys were first there. He just wanted to get to know the players on a personal level and to get to know them and what makes them tick, things that they think they do well, what they don't do well. And then once they got closer, I think he's going to want to do something similar to that. Because you and I both mentioned off of the air that Berube and Tortorella, maybe not exactly alike, but have similar tendencies in the way that they coach too.
yeah, the only difference is Tortorella goes to other players' locker rooms and tries to beat the fuck out of the coach. So that's
I
a big
love him for that. That
I love
was
sports.
great.
He's the next NHL commissioner in my
I,
mind.
I honestly, I would love to see that, but I think he's most likely just going to end up in the Flyers front office in a few years. I don't know.
So another point to kind of bring
Anyway,
up, Berube is from the Ontario area, I believe. So do you think, because I think that might hold some influence in his
I am glad
decision
you
making.
brought that up because he is currently stationed in Philadelphia right now. Him and his family are currently in Philly. So I don't that
A
when you
little
bring
closer.
that up, yes, he is from the Ontario area. I don't know if he's going to want to uproot his family after settling there. He can just go to New Jersey, which is a little over an hour away, and just say, "Hey, listen, guys, you stay here as a family. I just got to make a drive up the road to Newark. Boom, I'm at work, and he doesn't have to move these guys here." That could be a underrated determining factor because he's been hanging a lot at Flyers games off the screens a bit.
Speaking of off the screen, hi Nicole.
Hi, Cam.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome in Nicole.
Who is making a quick hi on our
Wonderful
episode of
girlfriend,
the
yes,
Sin Bin.
into the sin bin. As she just randomly pops in, but that is fine. We accept that. We love her. She's great. She cooks a mean meal too.
Yes, she
Um,
does. Food
but
Network extraordinaire.
Food Network extraordinaire, Nicole.
But
Yeah.
continue, Cam.
I think no matter what, even in an hour away, you got to think it's an 82 game season, and the frequency at which he's going to actually be in New Jersey is going to be high. So
But
he's
it's
going to be
about
spending.
uprooting his family. That's not what it
He's going to be
does.
spending a
Uprooting his
significant
life.
time away from his family, though, if you look at it. So I think no matter
But he doesn't
what,
have to uproot them. That's the
well,
thing. He won't have to get these guys to move. They can stay
doesn't
living in Philly where they currently are right
doesn't
now.
have to, but there's a likelihood that they will move. I think an hour in the grand scheme of things is not a long time, but in
And it's
terms
not.
of like
Any
it,
home games that he's there, it's a hop, skip, and a jump. He won't have to uproot them. Like,
but you're
for
not
example,
including traffic time, a whole bunch of other
but
things like
that's
the
minor.
games and
As an
times
off
are
day, he can go there. Like, I'm
you
just saying,
gotta.
like, I go a step further with this. I don't know what Berube's personal life is. I don't know if he has any kids or not. So I don't want to go if he does. But hypothetically, if he did have children, you got to uproot them from the school systems. You got to then get them into a Toronto, Ontario school system and get them all visas to get over there. I'm not saying that's going to be a major part, but that could be something that puts into perspective why he could choose New Jersey and be a better fit for him over Toronto because he doesn't have to do all that extracurricular stuff off the ice.
No, that is a fair point. I think. I mean, I don't know if he has dual citizenship with Canada and the United States at this point, but
I'm sure Berube does, but I don't know if his family does yet.
I think there might be ways that they can circumvent that. I don't know. In the world of sports, it's weird how it works between them. So because they know there's those there's those elements to it. Yeah, it's a good point that he might not want to uproot his family. I think that is part of it, but I think him also maybe wanting to return home could be another thing.
It could be, but I think when I just look at this, I just think the situation long term fits better with New Jersey because the players are a little younger. The defense is more established and has a much higher, maybe not everyone's more established, but the whole of it is still, I think, better than Toronto's with a much higher ceiling. New Jersey has less holes to fill. The media isn't excruciating. It's a slightly better cap situation. I won't use that as a major talking point. But the really only major hole he has to worry about in New Jersey is fixing their goaltending and maybe adding a couple depth pieces. Where in Toronto,
I don't know if you fixed the goaltending. I mean, yeah, the goaltending isn't great, but
it's terrible.
He won a cup with Jordan Binnington, and now look at Jordan.
And that could just give him more of a reason to go to New Jersey, where he doesn't. If he gets a decent goalie, look the F out. He's got the D core to work with already and a really established top six. It's only going to get better with age.
So if we were to wrap this up, right, what would you say the number one root of it would be for him to hit New Jersey? What is the driving force for him to pick New Jersey?
Get an established goaltender. Get this guy.
Yeah. What would get him there? Like what would be his driving force to get him there? Like what do you think would get him there? What would his primary reason for going to New Jersey be?
Oh, you mean like where Toronto is to just end that long drought? Honestly, I simply think he believes it's a better chance to add to his resume for long term. I think Toronto may be a little bit more short term because I think Toronto has better offensive talent, but New Jersey is better suited for success, I believe, long term than Toronto is. Because New Jersey right now has a much younger core, a much better D core, and it's a less stressful of a situation. So I think it has a better opportunity to add to his all-time resume. He's got a cup already. He's already shown that he knows what it takes to get there. And I feel like a team like New Jersey, in a much weaker division, mind you, that's another thing we haven't even mentioned. The Metro's weaker than the Atlantic. There's two good teams in that division, and then a bunch of mid, and then Columbus. Where in the Atlantic, Boston's good. Montreal's on the up and coming. Ottawa sucks, but who cares? Buffalo has the talent to eventually make a push. Florida's a wagon. Tampa's still good for now. I mean, they're probably on the late stages of the back nine, but you compare to what that is against the Metro, you find a better path to success going in that division, only having to really deal with a Carolina and a Rangers. I think there's a real chance that New Jersey finds themselves back in the playoffs next year too.
Just quick on Florida. I think this is it for Florida. They have a lot of UFAs and only $19 million to sign them. So they have some decisions to make.
They do. I don't think it's it for Florida as a whole, though, because the main core of those guys are still there. But I definitely think you're looking at a different Florida team. They'll still be in the playoffs next year.
Here's why I say this. They have $19 million in cap. They need to sign Sam Reinhart, who is going to get $9 to $10 million.
I think he's gone. I think someone's going to overpay for him personally.
Kyle Okposo, which he'll be on the cheap because he's 36. Vladimir Tarasenko, they're probably not going to keep. Nick Cousins, Steven Lorentz, Kevin Stenlund, Anton Lundell, who's going to get paid.
Lundell is a name to watch. He's going to get paid $5 million. He's Florida's Martin Necas. That's a guy who I could see. If they sign Reinhart, he's 100% gone. 100% gone.
Brandon Montour.
I think they signed him. I think
Oliver Ekman. Brandon Montour is going to want $6 million.
I think they'll give that to him.
Oliver Ekman Larson, Dmitry Kulikov,
They
Josh
got
Mahura.
some names. I feel like not all, but 60 to 70% of the guys you named are depth-ish guys. But I definitely think
still
Florida,
a lot of money.
But that's besides Reinhart or Lundell is gone. I will agree with that.
But that's besides the point.
But anyway, point being, even with that situation Florida has, I think the path in the Atlantic is a lot more tedious and difficult compared to the path in the Metropolitan. And I think New Jersey finds him to a better lane of success, staying there long term. I'm
the opposite of you, and then we'll close this out. So I think it actually means more to Berube to bring the cup home to his hometown nonetheless. After longer than 52 years, he did it in St. Louis, and he saw the reaction of it. Yeah, and I just think Toronto has a lot more to gain. So I think the prospect of him being able to end that drought is very appealing.
It's fair. It's a fair point. I'm not 100% agree with it, but I can see where you're coming from.
Well, that's the whole point. You don't have to fucking agree with me. This is the sin bin. We're supposed to be fighting.
Man. Eat me. Fuck off.
I
hope your elbow hurts for another month.
Don't say that. It hurts right now. It's hard to extend my right arm. That's rude as fuck. I'd be getting fucking migraines from the gym.
All right. But that'll do it for this episode of the Sin Bin, everyone. Tell us what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. If you agree with Cam's points, if you agree with my points, where do you potentially see Berube landing? Is it Toronto? Is it New Jersey? Maybe it's a third or fourth team that we didn't even mention.
Maybe it's Anaheim.
Maybe it is Anaheim. Who knows? I got a lot of prospects.
Shock the world.
They played like shit this year, but maybe it is Anaheim. But any dang way, that'll be it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. As usual, me, Cam, appreciate your ever-loving, continuous support. And email us with any questions, too, for any future episodes at puckingaroundpodcast@gmail.com.
That's puckingaroundpodcast@gmail.com.
With all that being said, you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one.